Okay, so what is up guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk to you about something that you've probably been considering buying if you clicked to watch this video, and that is the 2015 MacBook Air. It's a 13.3-inch MacBook Air that Apple actually continued to sell this until early 2018 to people for $1,000. At that point, many people thought this computer was not worth $1,000 anymore, especially considering the fact that you could actually have $200 and buy the MacBook Pro at that time. But it's a good thing that Apple no longer sells this, and you can actually just find this on the used market for somewhere under $600, $500 if you're lucky. And of course, the price is going to be determined by the condition of the computer. So in this video, I want to talk to you about whether this computer is actually worth buying, if it's worth your money, and if it's a worthy buy today in 2021. Let's talk about it. The God of gods! So first things first, I need to point out the fact that this is not going to be a scientific review because this laptop has been reviewed and re-reviewed over the years. I'm just trying to help you decide if this is worth your money or not. The first thing we're going to talk about is the design of the computer. And before I talk about the things that I don't like, I want to talk about the things that I do like. I like the fact that you still get the MagSafe, where if your computer is on a desk and you trip over the cable, you're not going to damage your computer. I like the fact that you get two USB 3 ports, so you can still use the regular USB dongles without having to use a dongle to attach everything else to your computer. You still get the headphone jack, which you still get with other MacBook Airs today, and you get the SD card slot, which is something even the MacBook Pros that are being produced today no longer have. Even the iMac no longer has this, which is absolutely ridiculous to me. And you get a Thunderbolt port in case you want to send this out to a display or something. You can actually still do that. I love that about the design. The sleekness and the niceness of the aluminum body is also really interesting, and it's still very 2021-esque. It doesn't look terrible. And of course, you still have this, the light up Apple logo that actually lights up when you turn on your computer, which is great. You don't get that anymore with the new MacBook Airs or even the MacBook Pros. Now, that's about where everything I like with the design stops. There's a giant bezel, which you might consider to be ugly, right? The screen on this is not great. In fact, it's less than a 1080p, and it's nothing like the full retina that you get with new computers these days from Apple. The screen is not the best quality. The bezel is among us. I mean, it's not terrible like a lot of people say it is, but it's definitely not the best. When you actually compare the screen on this computer to newer MacBook Airs or MacBook Pros that have full retina displays, this doesn't stand up. I mean, it doesn't hold up to those ones, obviously, but in its own right by itself, it actually is still a decent enough screen for you to Netflix, for you to view photos, for you to archive photos and organize photos on your computer and stuff like that. You can actually consume media without any issues with the screen on this computer. Now, in recent years, we tend to complain a lot about Apple's computers when they make some changes, but what you tend to realize after going back to use these older computers is that many of the choices that Apple makes are for your convenience. For example, having to type my password every single time I open up this laptop has been a little frustrating because it doesn't match the language of every other MacBook that I own in the house, where I can simply use my fingerprint to sign into my computer. This is something that I've completely lost with going back to the 2015 MacBook Air as my upstairs bedroom MacBook, and that honestly can be frustrating sometimes. Just the convenience of putting your finger. In fact, many times I have tried to reach that corner and simply use my finger to sign into my computer, and I ended up just putting my computer to sleep, which is kind of frustrating. Now, moving on to an area where Apple actually tried to make improvements, but they ended up making a huge doozy, it's the keyboards. The keyboards on these computers are still pretty great. I mean, they type fantastic, typing experience here is amazing. It's nothing like the butterfly keyboards that a lot of people complain about, and that's great. Now, of course, personally, I never had any issues with the butterfly keyboards on the newer MacBooks, but a lot of people complained about them, so we cannot dismiss the experience of other people. But these Caesar switch keyboards are really dependable. They never gave me any issues back then, and they're still not giving me any issues right now that I'm using them. Now, but of course, the only reason why you're buying a computer is not just for the looks and the design and stuff. You're actually buying a computer because of its performance and how it works, what the computer can do for you. Now, I think this is where it's going to be a make or break decision for many people, because this is ultimately going to be how you decide whether you should or shouldn't pick up this computer in 2021 or 22 or whatever year you're actually watching this video. Ultimately, the performance of this computer is where it lets itself down, because beyond 1080p editing, which I wouldn't even advise you to do when it comes to video, I don't think you should use this computer for any resource-intensive tasks at all. So if you're a video editor, this is probably not the computer for you. If you're trying to buy a MacBook for gaming, this is definitely not the computer for you. But if you're buying this and you're like me, you intend to only use this to reply emails, do some, I don't know, Excel, Microsoft Word, Google Pages, iCloud Pages, stuff that's basically just documentation, editing, writing, typing, texting, things like that. This would be fantastic. Very light work tasks that are not going to be resource intensive are going to work fantastic on this computer without any issues. But if you're trying to move into video editing territory, you want to edit 4K video and stuff like that, this is definitely not the computer for you. And yes, the new M1 2021 or 2020 MacBook Airs can edit 4K video and scrub without any issues. But of course, you have to understand that when you're comparing today's prices between them, you're probably going to have to spend another $500 on top of this one, maybe $400 if we're being more realistic, before you can get that one. And that's almost double the price of this if you're going to be buying this used. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to consider the fact that this computer is really, really cheap now, and it kind of starts to show its age, because these were severely underpowered computers and they were not supposed to match up or compete with the MacBook Pros. Now, of course, that story has changed now with the invent of M1, which has pretty much made the MacBook Air a powerhouse these days. But as long as you don't need that much power and you're not trying to video edit, this is still a decent computer to buy. So then comes the question, is this computer actually worth buying today? And the answer is very complicated, because it's not a simple direct yes or no. It completely depends. It completely depends on what you intend to use this computer for. Again, if you're creative, a video editor, photo editor, you want to do some really, really resource intensive stuff with this computer, it's absolutely going to let you down at certain points. Especially, in fact, if you decide to buy the 4GB RAM version instead of the 8GB RAM version, this computer is not going to hold up for a very long time. You're going to get frustrated at times and you're going to let it go. But if you're not doing any of that stuff, if you just need an extra computer around the house, something that lays around in your living room or on your work desk in your bedroom, just so that you can wake up and reply emails, you can check what's going on around you, you can check the news, you can watch YouTube videos, you can Netflix when you're bored, this would be a perfect computer for you to buy. But beyond that, I don't think in 2021 or whatever other date you're actually watching this video, this is a computer you should be buying for video editing or photo editing or anything like that. But again, that's just my opinion. I might be wrong. I'm basically just speaking from a resource standpoint and how this computer has performed while I have used it to do my daily tasks in the last few weeks. I've had this for about a month, just testing it so that I could make this video and tell you guys what I think about it. And honestly, while the computer is really, really great, I wouldn't recommend it for creatives, but for everybody else, students taking notes, people just studying, people just doing research, this is a fantastic computer. You can use this to write your project, your PhD thesis without any problems, because it actually holds up to regular tasks like that. But anyways, that's pretty much all my thoughts about the 2015 13.3-inch MacBook here. Thank you so much for watching. If you're in the market for this computer, if you find it at a good price and you're not trying to push it too hard, it would be fantastic for you. I guess I'll see you guys on another video that was shot by Kagan. Peace.